For more than 30 years, I have sat across from patients in my exam room, and I have watched the same quiet confusion cross their faces again and again. They come to me with the story they have told themselves for a long time. They have stopped adding salt at the table. They have stopped drinking soda. They walk every morning before the sun is fully up. They have done the things they were told to do, and yet, when the cuff wraps around their arm and the monitor gives its answer, the numbers are still too high. 140 over 90, 150 over 95, sometimes higher than that. They look at me and they ask the same question, always the same question and almost the same words. Doctor, what am I still doing wrong? What I am about to tell you is what I tell them. It is the answer that surprises them the most. Because the answer is not hiding in the salt shaker. It is not hiding in the potato chips they gave up years ago. It is hiding in 5 ordinary foods that sit in almost every kitchen in this country. Foods that look innocent, foods that feel safe, foods that no one warns you about because everyone eats them every single day without a second thought, and that is exactly what makes them so dangerous. Before I show you those 5 foods, I want you to understand something about blood pressure, because if you understand what is happening inside your body, the rest of this will make sense in a way it never has before. Your heart is a pump. Every time it contracts, it pushes blood through a network of vessels that, if you laid them end to end, would stretch for more than 60,000 miles. That blood carries oxygen, nutrients, hormones, and messengers to every cell in your body. The pressure inside those vessels is what keeps everything moving. Without pressure, nothing flows. With too much pressure, everything begins to break. When your blood pressure stays elevated for months and then for years, your arteries begin to change. The inner lining, which should be smooth and elastic, becomes stiff, scarred, and inflamed. Small tears appear. Cholesterol begins to collect at those tears, the way debris collects in the cracks of a road. Over time, these deposits grow, they narrow the passageway, and they turn a smooth channel into a rough and constricted tunnel. This is how strokes begin. This is how heart attacks begin. This is how kidneys fail slowly over years without a single symptom until it is too late. And the truth that most people never hear is this: blood pressure does not warn you. It does not hurt. It does not swell. It does not appear on your skin. It works in silence, day after day, meal after meal, while you go on with your life believing that everything is fine. There is one more thing I want you to know before we move forward, because it is the piece that most doctors leave out. The human body was never designed for the amount of sodium that arrives in a modern meal. For most of human history, our ancestors ate roughly 600 to 800 milligrams of sodium in an entire day, and they got it almost entirely from the natural minerals present in meat, in eggs, in leafy greens, and in the water they drank. The kidneys evolved to hold on to sodium tightly because in nature it was rare. Today, the average adult in this country consumes more than 3,400 milligrams every single day, and often much more. And the kidneys, still following the ancient blueprint, still try to hold on to it. That is why sodium raises pressure so easily. Your body is not designed to shed it. It is designed to store it, and every meal that carries too much salt asks your kidneys and your heart and your arteries to do a job they were never meant to do. Now, the first food I am going to tell you about is one you probably ate today. You may have eaten it this morning, you may be planning to eat it tonight, and you would never ever suspect it. That food is bread. Bread does not taste salty. When you take a bite of a soft roll, or a slice from a fresh loaf, or the bun that wraps around your sandwich at lunch, the flavor that comes through is warmth and grain and a faint sweetness from the yeast. There is no bite of salt on your tongue, there is no sharpness, and that is precisely why it fools you. Salt is used in bread not for flavor alone, but for structure. It controls the fermentation of the yeast, it strengthens the gluten, it slows styling. Without salt, the loaf you buy at the store would collapse, spoil quickly, and taste flat. So every commercial bakery, every industrial line that produces the bread you eat adds sodium in quantities that would shock you if you saw them written on a label. A single slice of ordinary white bread contains between 150 and 230 milligrams of sodium. A dinner roll can carry more than 300. A bagel from a coffee shop can hold 500, sometimes 600, sometimes more. And here is where the danger lives. You do not eat one slice of bread a day. You eat 2 slices in your sandwich at lunch. You eat toast in the morning. You eat a roll with dinner. You eat the bun around your burger. By the time the day is done, without ever once tasting salt, you have eaten more than 1,000 milligrams of sodium from bread alone. That is nearly half of the entire amount your heart can safely process in a full day. I have had patients tell me they eat almost no salt. They have thrown away the potato chips. They have stopped ordering fries. They have not touched a pretzel in years. And when I ask them what they had for breakfast, they say toast. When I ask them what they had for lunch, they say a sandwich. When I ask what they had for dinner, they say pasta with a side of garlic bread. They are eating sodium the entire day, and they do not know it, because bread hides its salt behind flour and yeast and the comfort of something familiar. If you want to protect your heart, this is the first thing you must understand. Look at the label on the bread you buy. Do not glance at the calories. Do not glance at the fiber. Find the line that says sodium and look at the the number. If a single slice carries more than 140 milligrams and you are eating 3 or 4 slices a day, you are already close to your limit before any other food touches your plate. Choose loaves that carry no more than 120 milligrams per slice. Choose sprouted breads, low-sodium versions, or bake your own at home where you can control the salt. Something as simple as changing your loaf can lower the amount of sodium in your body by 1,000 milligrams a day, and over the course of a year, that change alone can drop your systolic pressure by 5 points, sometimes more. Now let me tell you about the second food, because this one will be even harder to hear. It is the food that fills the sliding drawer of every refrigerator in every household with children, in every household where lunches are made in the morning before school, in every household where dinner is quick and something needs to be on a plate in 10 minutes. That food is cold cuts, deli meat, the turkey slices, the ham, the roast beef, the salami, the bologna, the pastrami, the pepperoni that we open, layer, roll, and eat without thinking twice. Cold cuts are one of the most sodium-dense foods in the modern kitchen, and the reason is not seasoning. The reason is preservation. When meat is sliced and packaged and left in a cold case for weeks, it needs something to keep bacteria from growing. That something is sodium in the form of curing salts, brines, and phosphates. A single ounce of sliced turkey from the deli counter can carry between 300 and 500 milligrams of sodium. A 3-ounce sandwich portion, the kind that fits into a normal lunch, can deliver more than 1,000 milligrams in a single bite. Add 2 slices of bread and you have already eaten 1,500 milligrams before you have touched the mustard. And the mustard, and the pickles, and the cheese, all of these carry sodium as well. A single sandwich made with what most people consider a healthy protein, a lean turkey, on a whole grain bread with a slice of cheddar and a spread of mustard and a pickle on the side, can carry more than 2,000 milligrams of sodium. That is the entire daily limit for a healthy heart, and it is exceeded before your afternoon coffee. I want you to think about this carefully. The patient who tells me they eat healthy and cannot understand their blood pressure, when I ask them what they had for lunch yesterday, the answer is almost always the same: a turkey sandwich, or a ham and cheese, or a sub from the shop down the street. They believed they were eating clean protein. They believed they were making a smart choice, and they were, in every category except the one that matters most for their heart. There is another problem with processed deli meats, and this one is beginning to attract serious attention in the scientific community. Cold cuts are cured with nitrates and nitrites, compounds that preserve color and prevent botulism. But when these compounds enter your bloodstream and react with certain amino acids, they can create molecules that inflame the lining of your arteries. The very lining that must stay smooth and healthy to keep blood pressure normal. So it is not only the sodium, it is the combined effect of the sodium, the phosphates, the nitrates, and the saturated fats, all working together to raise pressure, stiffen vessels, and speed the process of vascular aging. If you love a sandwich for lunch, and I understand why you do, the change you must make is not to give it up. The change is to choose real meat. Roast a turkey breast at home on the weekend and slice it fresh for the week. Cook a chicken breast, cool it, and slice it thin. Buy a whole ham from a butcher who cures it without the industrial brine. What you save in sodium can be the difference between a diagnosis and a healthy chart, between a night in the emergency room and a quiet, ordinary week where nothing goes wrong at all. Now I will tell you the third food, and this one I have to warn you about because most people believe it is the definition of a healthy meal. It is comforting, it is warm. Mothers make it for children who are sick. Grandmothers keep it in the pantry for emergencies. It is what you reach for on a cold night when nothing else sounds good. It is soup, and more specifically, it is canned soup. If you have ever picked up a can of chicken noodle or minestrone or tomato bisque or clam chowder and looked at the nutrition label, you may have seen a number that struck you: 700 milligrams, 800, 900, sometimes over 1,000, and then you may have noticed something else, something that changes the whole picture. That number is for 1 serving, and a single can, the kind you would open for lunch and eat by yourself, contains 2 servings, sometimes 2.5. Which means the total amount of sodium in that one small can is not 700 milligrams, it is 1,500, or 1,800, or 2,200. You could eat nothing else all day, and 1 can of soup would push you past the safe daily limit for your blood pressure. And most people do not eat only the soup, they eat it with crackers, they eat it with a slice of bread, they eat it as a side to a sandwich. And now you can see what is happening. Layer upon layer of sodium quietly stacking up minute by minute, hour by hour, all while the person eating believes they are being careful. The trick with canned soup is that the sodium is not there for taste alone. It is there because the vegetables, the noodles, and the broth all need it to keep from spoiling on the shelf for a year or two. And to make a soup that has been sitting in metal at room temperature taste rich and satisfying, the manufacturer adds salt in generous amounts. It is chemistry, not cooking, and your body cannot tell the difference between salt added for flavor and salt added for shelf life. It responds the same way. Water is pulled into the bloodstream, blood volume increases, pressure rises, the kidneys work harder, the heart pumps against face greater resistance. And this happens every single time you eat that bowl, even when the bowl feels like the safest, gentlest meal you could possibly choose. I do not want you to stop eating soup. Soup is one of the great inventions of human kitchens. It is warm, it is filling, it is easy to digest, it is deeply nourishing when made well, but when you make it yourself, from real bones or vegetables, with only the salt you choose to add, a bowl of soup can carry less than 300 milligrams of sodium and still taste rich and complete. That is a fraction of what comes out of the can. And when you do buy soup, look for the words low sodium clearly printed on the front and check the label to be certain the number is under 300 milligrams per cup, not per serving of unknown size. Read every line, turn the can. Do not trust what the front of the label tells you, because the front of the label is designed to sell you comfort, and the back of the label is where the truth about your heart is actually written. Now let me tell you the fourth food, and this one may surprise you the most, because it is beloved by so many people and it is a symbol of comfort and celebration in nearly every culture where wheat is grown. That food is pizza. Pizza is not one food, it is many foods layered upon one another, and every layer carries sodium. The dough is salted, the tomato sauce is salted sometimes heavily, to balance the acid and deepen the flavor. The cheese, especially mozzarella and parmesan, is naturally high in sodium because of the way it is aged and cured, and then come the toppings: pepperoni, sausage, ham, bacon, olives, anchovies. Each of these adds another layer of salt on top of the salt that was already there. A single slice of a common frozen or restaurant pizza can carry between 600 and 1000 milligrams of sodium. 2 slices, which is what most adults eat, can push past 2000. The problem is not that pizza tastes salty. The problem is that pizza tastes good. It tastes so good, in fact, that you can eat 3 slices before you register that you are full, and by then the damage is already done. Your body has taken in more sodium in a single sitting than it can process in an entire day. Your kidneys will work overtime through the night to remove the excess. Your blood pressure will rise, and by the following morning, the reading on your monitor will tell a story that has nothing to do with your walk from earlier in the week. Frozen pizza is even more dangerous because when you bake it at home, you feel a certain measure of control. You made the meal. You did not order takeout. There was no restaurant. There was no delivery driver. It felt homemade, and yet the pizza that came out of your oven contains all of the same sodium as the one from the pizzeria on the corner. Some brands, in fact, carry even more because the salt helps preserve the crust and the toppings during their long journey from factory to freezer to your kitchen. I have watched patients bring their pressure down by 15 points, 20 points, 25 points simply by giving up frozen pizza and takeout pizza and choosing to make pizza at home from scratch. A homemade dough with a small amount of salt, a fresh tomato sauce made from ripe tomatoes and garlic and olive oil, a light layer of good cheese, and vegetables from the garden. The same food, made with different intention, becomes almost medicine instead of poison. That is the truth of most cooking. It is not the ingredients that condemn us. It is what has been done to those ingredients before they reach our plate. Now I come to the fifth food, and I have saved this one for last because it is the one that stuns my patients the most. It is a food that almost every diet program in the world recommends. It is a food that fitness magazines celebrate. It is a food that people eat when they are trying to lose weight, lower their cholesterol, or clean up their diet. It is chicken, and more specifically, it is the chicken that comes from a restaurant, from a deli counter, from the ready-to-eat section of the supermarket, or from a rotisserie warmer at the end of the day. Chicken itself is not the problem. A fresh, plain chicken breast that you cook at home, with a little pepper and herbs and a light hand on the salt, carries less than 100 milligrams of sodium and can be one of the most heart-friendly proteins on your plate. But the chicken that is served in restaurants and the chicken that is sold ready to eat in supermarkets is almost never that clean. It has been through a process the industry calls enhancement, and enhancement means that before the chicken ever reaches the grill or the oven, it has been injected with a solution of water, salt, and phosphates. This solution keeps the meat juicy through cooking and reheating, and it also adds weight, which allows the seller to charge for water as if it were meat, but that water carries salt, a lot of salt. A single rotisserie chicken from the deli counter can carry more than 800 milligrams of sodium per serving, and a serving is only 3 or 4 ounces. If you eat half a bird, which is what most people do at dinner, you can take in more than 2,000 milligrams of sodium from what you thought was a lean, healthy protein. Restaurant chicken breast, whether grilled, baked, or roasted, is even more heavily brined in many cases. A single portion at a chain restaurant can carry over 1,000 milligrams of sodium before the sauce, before the sides, before the roll on the side of the plate. This is what makes hypertension so difficult to fight. The very foods that people choose because they believe they are healthy are among the worst offenders, and they will never know because the label is not on the plate. date. The label is only on the raw package at the factory, and by the time the meat reaches your fork, no one is going to tell you what has been done to it. This is a hidden tax that the modern food industry places on your heart, and it is collected quietly, meal after meal, without your consent and often without your knowledge. The way through this is simple, though it requires a small change in habit. Buy raw chicken, buy it whole or in breasts or in thighs from a butcher or a grocery store, and cook it yourself. Season it with garlic, with herbs, with lemon, with pepper, with the mildest touch of salt from your own hand so that you know exactly what is going into your body. A single hour on a Sunday afternoon spent roasting a whole chicken can give you clean protein for 4 or 5 meals through the week, and your kidneys and your heart will thank you in ways you cannot yet imagine. Now that you know the 5, I want to say something to you that I say to every patient before they leave my office. What we have talked about today is not a lecture, and it is not a diet. It is a lens. It is a way of seeing food that you did not have before. From this moment forward, when you pick up a slice of bread, you will see the number on the label. When you make a sandwich, you will remember what you learned about the deli meat. When you open a can of soup, you will hesitate for a moment and read the panel on the back. When you look at a pizza, you will see it for what it is. When you buy chicken, you will ask yourself where it came from and what was done to it. And that hesitation, that awareness, that pause before the bite is where health begins to return. I have seen patients walk into my office with pressures of 160/100, and I have watched those same patients 6 months later walk back in with readings of 125/80. No new medication, no surgery, no expensive supplement, only a change in what they put into their bodies 3 times a day. The heart is a forgiving organ. It wants to work. It wants to serve you for as many years as you can give it. And when you remove the burden of unnecessary sodium, the pressure drops, the vessels heal, the kidneys stabilize, and the numbers that once haunted you begin to move in the right direction. Everything in your body is connected. When your blood pressure falls, your heart works less hard. When your heart works less hard, your energy returns. When your energy returns, you sleep more deeply. When you sleep more deeply, your hormones balance. When your hormones balance, your weight begins to normalize. And when your weight normalizes, your pressure falls even further. It is a cycle, and it can turn in either direction. Every meal you eat pushes it one way or the other. Every choice matters. Every label read is a small victory. Every bite is a chance to move toward health or a chance to move away from it. I want to leave you with one last thought, because I know how easy it is to feel overwhelmed by information like this. You do not have to be perfect. You do not have to change everything at once. Start with one of the 5 foods I have named. Choose the one that appears in your kitchen the most often. Change only that one. Read the labels. Find a better version, or make it at home, or replace it with something fresher and simpler. Give it 4 weeks. Take your blood pressure at the beginning of those 4 weeks and again at the end. Write the numbers down. And I promise you, when you see what changes in your body from just one shift in what you eat, you will find the motivation to make the next change, and the next, and the next. Your heart has carried you every second of every day of your life, from the moment before you were born until this very moment as you listen to my voice. It has never asked for anything in return. It has beaten steadily, silently through your triumphs and your griefs, through your childhood and your adulthood, through every meal and every fast, every joy and every sorrow. It has never once stopped to complain. What it deserves from you now, in the years that remain, is that you feed it food it can process, that you fill your table with meals that heal instead of harm, and that you learn to read the world with new eyes so that the enemies of your health are not hiding in plain sight any longer. Do this for yourself. Do it for the people who love you, and for the years you still have ahead of you, and for the mornings you have not yet lived. Do it quietly, patiently, one meal at a time, and trust that the small changes you make in your kitchen today are the reason your grandchildren will still know your voice 10 years from now. Take care of your heart. It has taken care of you.